RBL Bank is both an old bank and a new bank. As a bank, it's been around for 75 years, but for most of its history, it was a small regional bank based out of Kolhapur. About 8 odd years ago, it underwent a change of management and ownership, and since then we've been on this super growth path. We listed 5 years ago, and we are one of the fastest growing banks in India, possibly the fastest growing bank in India. And we've been seeing spectacular success in customer acquisitions, in innovations. We are known as the bank for partners, and we've been leading with digital engagement as our primary driver. We see two major trends influencing how banking is working. One is, though we say the mobile revolution is upon us, actually in India it's still nascent, because when we say mobile revolution, what we really mean is smartphones. And India has just woken up to data usage. Reliance Jio played a big role in it, and before that, luckily cricket seems to have inspired a lot of data usage. And once people start using data for one thing, they start using data for everything. But that's pretty recent. It's actually not very long-standing. Mobile phone voice usage has been there in India for a while. We think that the data usage, highly data-centric world of mobiles, that will drive a whole new change of banking. And this has happened in China. In China, banking totally changed as people started using mobile phones and their versions of chat and banking and so on. The whole structure of banking changed, and we think here something similar will happen. So I think it's a very valuable direction that Finacle is taking. We have taken that direction some time ago, and because in those days there was no native support for this, we had, with the help of Infosys and with our own internal capabilities, we built this around the core. So today we are already very ecosystem driven, and it's great to see that Finacle is going to make this easier and richer and much more functional. And we feel that we as a bank are particularly well positioned to take care of, to take benefits from that direction. Customers today don't quite know what they want. And Fintechs in particular are doing a lot of experiments, trying to figure out what is the most convenient in the new age world. As I said, one of the drivers is this explosion of mobility with data connections, which is fairly recent. Now companies will try and start figuring out how that changes banking behavior or financial transaction behavior. So Paytm was one of the beneficiaries of that trend. I'm sure there'll be others. We, on the other hand, are very keen to empower these fintechs and become the underlying bank. Bank has a lot of financial strengths that fintechs don't have. Fintechs are particularly good at doing customer-based centric experiments. We want to tie this up together. We want them to do customer-centric experiments, and we want us to do the financial, the risk management, the balance sheet management, all that. And we think that the partnership will be particularly valuable. So the API store per se is driven out of the need for RBL Bank to grow by acquiring customers quite quickly. We realized that internally, if we were to go and directly acquire customers on our own, we have only limited capabilities. The bank was pretty small when it started on this journey, and it had very few branches, it had very little by way of staff, it had no digital channels at that time to speak of. So it realized that the best way would be to partner with other people who are acquiring customers and provide the ability for them to tie up with us, so their customers become our customers. They get the benefit of their business expanding, we get the benefit of customers transacting with us. And which is where the API story started, that we started trying to attract. We said we'll become the bank that is most attractive to a partner. We will be quickest to integrate our APIs, we will be quickest to offer new offerings, and so that's what the API store and the API story itself is geared towards. We go and pitch to partners that we'll do it faster than anybody else, we'll do it more reliably than anybody else, and we will be able to, because we're a full service bank, we'll be able to offer you capabilities that any bank can offer, as opposed to a fintech which is limited by a lot of rules and a lot of capability restrictions. So the Digital Experience Hub is a very valuable innovation that we are very actively considering adopting. And the reason we think that is because, unlike in the previous eras, where you gave us omni-channel experience, but the experience was finally already defined and only modifiable, customizable. The Digital Experience Hub essentially says, I'll give you all the capabilities and you build whatever experience you like. yes, of course, there's a set of experiences that we already have, and but as we learned that something should behave differently, earlier we had to hardwire it into the, the omni-channel experience. Now, the digital experience hub basically gives you the capability to, on the fly, change your mind and do something else. And that is the part that's very valuable to us. There are a couple of expectations out of any core banking platform. One is it must be reliable, it must be stable, and it must scale to a certain volume. We've grown 45 times since that milestone 8 years ago. So obviously we had a lot of challenges on how much volume was originally designed to handle and how much volume we handle today. And those scaling challenges Finacle has been able to cope up with very well. We've also extended APIs a lot to our ecosystem. We can say Rbl Bank's existence depends on APIs. We integrate a lot with partners and channels, and there Finacle has been able to help us with this continued progression on APIs. We were one of the first banks to adopt it, so in many cases Finacle was helping us do it for the first time in India, and this was quite a good support that they provided. As a platform, it has lived up to our expectations. It has proved to be a solid, stable platform for us. It's proved to be a good feature-rich platform, and we continue to expand on it. So today we've kind of faked microservices. We have put microservices as a layer outside that enters the monolith at different parts. What we're asking Finacle to do is to create a full-fledged external service out of it, which accesses the core the way it should, instead of just creating a bypass layer. And then eventually we'll fade away the old way of doing things and we'll only have the new way of doing things. And that's very valuable to us. As we rethink our box, we need to make sure that the box goes directly into core and continues to be, the core is stable, we don't want to touch it, but we want everything above it to be much more modern. We are today a small bank trying to grow very rapidly. In the traditional model, I would have to invest in this rapid growth in the IT infrastructure for it upfront, which would be very expensive, and oftentimes that is the limiting factor for growth in banks. We grew 45 times in about 8 years. If you have to grow another 45 times, the capital investment required would be fairly large and fairly limiting. We could not make that much investment upfront, and therefore we'd be limited by our speed of investment. Cloud allows us to change that equation entirely. We can grow very rapidly without having to pay a lot upfront. And we can be very flexible in changing our minds. If lines of business, as we grow, we are definitely going to make some mistakes. We are going to launch lines of business that don't work out the way we thought. We are going to launch other lines of business which are far more successful than we originally intended, which is also a mistake of a different kind. Cloud allows us to adapt to these mistakes. If something becomes far more successful and something is much less successful, it allows us to reallocate and change our mind quite quickly. And there again, the direction Finacle is taking is very valuable to us. We think that is the direction, the Dockerization, containerization of the world will indeed allow us to do all these things. So one thing we like about Finacle is the company itself. We've always been, even now, we are still a pretty small bank. When we first started engaging with Finacle, we were a tiny bank. But the company has never treated us as a tiny bank worthy of only small amounts of attention. They've always been very cooperative at all levels, and that is a very valuable thing to have in a partner. You want a partner that, that doesn't say that my relationship with you is proportional to the amount of dollars I spend. And there Finacle has been very good, has been outstanding. It's not, we've been getting support and attention from Finacle when we want it, regardless of the fact that we are a small or a large bank. And it's, that alone is probably worth more than any engineering solution quality. The engineering solution quality has been decent. We have scaled up as much as we wanted. There are challenges in engineering, decisions made in the original design that of course has some costs and has been an improvement cycle on that. We've had performance challenges with some of the components which we've worked with Finacle to improve. As I said, that's a continuing journey. The big challenge but the best thing, as I said, was that we've always got the attention we wanted.